deeper. Tom.
Yeah, I just another comment on Arden's presentation. I was very encouraged, Arden, that you're now going into and looking at some of the human clinical studies and the animal studies, because from what I've read on the ecological, I mean, you get associations. They're not necessarily that large, 2%, maybe up to 20%. And what's recommended is you need to go in and find biological plausibility and confirm that. The study you mentioned, I'm not that familiar with. I need to look at the details of that. But that same group did a study here recently where I strongly disagree with the model that they used, the way they generated the endpoints they were looking at, and the dose. That one was on diesel exhaust. In that particular model, I think they used the same mouse strain susceptible to cardiovascular disease. They tied off the femoral artery to the hind limbs to generate anoxia, and then they exposed the animals to 1,000 micrograms per cubic meter of diesel exhaust. Reading that study, it sounds like almost half the animals died. Anoxia generates angiogenesis. I mean, that's a well-known phenomenon. Diesel exhaust at that level increased the angiogenesis. Now, the bottom line conclusion of those researchers was that because you get angiogenesis in cancer, late stage, we all know it is a totally different mechanism, and diesel caused angiogenesis. Therefore, a 2-month exposure to diesel exhaust will cause cancer, and that's in the press. I mean, those types of studies don't demonstrate biological plausibility, and I think it causes issues for all of us. Now, the specific study you mentioned, I would like to dig into that. Maybe the dose of the PM they used was appropriate, but the devil is really in the details of these studies, and I would like to look into that. And I think a lot of them cause more problems than they solve.
Well, yeah, I respect you. I mean, I'm not a toxicologist. Your judgment on that's certainly better than mine. I don't know. And in fact, even that study, even though I can read it and understand it, I'm not, I don't know. I like it. I think it's a pretty neat study, frankly. And it makes a nice slide, too.
Well, why don't we not? Aaron,
I think that was a concentrated particular.
John, let me say something so we don't have to go over this anymore. My point isn't that any one study is better than the other, that nor anything else. My point is I would consider it a mistake for the state of California to not use the richness of data that exists out there and try to focus on their own studies alone. Because there is a substantial body of literature that's relevant to California that goes beyond its borders. It's a very simple statement.